Hey, welcome back to How to Cut Like a Chef. We're here in the Urban Element Kitchen in Canada, and today we're going to do asparagus because it is springtime in Canada and it is my favorite season, full of foraging and the renew of green things and the end of root vegetables, which are lovely, but after a while it's a lot. So one of my favorite times is asparagus season. It's short and sweet and so wonderful. So I'm gonna show you, I've got these beautiful asparagus spears from a farmer friend named Rodney, and I love the big thick ones. I'm gonna show you how I store them and a couple different ways on how to cut them. So I keep my asparagus in about an inch of water in a container standing up, uncovered. I find that when I cover it with plastic like I do for some of the other vegetables, I find that the tips start to get, there's too much moisture, so it kind of has them rot. Whereas this way they're in water, so they're drinking the water and they're staying nice and crisp and firm, and their tips don't go as quickly, and that's awesome. So you got your asparagus spear. The best way to do it is actually just to break it. The bottom end, especially as they get older and as the season goes on, they get woodier. So the fibers tend to get stronger and a bit drier, and then they're really unpleasant to eat. You can't sever the fibers with your teeth, and you just kind of like end up chewing on it. So we don't want to use that one for straight up grilling or cooking, but I do have a use for it, and I do have an episode in the future about what to do with your asparagus trim. So you'll have to tune into that and subscribe. But so I'm gonna put that aside for now. In the meantime, now we've got this asparagus, it's got this little broken end. That's okay. I just like to take it off on a bias. This little chunk is still delicious, and I like to kind of stockpile them, especially in a restaurant. I go through tons of asparagus, so I'll always have like a little container full of them, and they're really awesome, just sauteed in your eggs or whatever you've got on the go. They're not super pretty, but they are very delicious. So I will show you another time how to do that. So now we've got this asparagus spear, and that's it. You can leave them like this and throw them on the grill. They really don't take very long. You can keep them whole and steam them just like that. You can saute them like that with butter, kind of like you would green beans, with a little water and some butter or another kind of fat or no fat. And now some people, an old school French way to do asparagus is actually to peel them. Now, I don't like to peel them, but some people do, and that's cool. So we just take our peeler and just take the green off. I start at the top and just pull down. If you're using the long peeler, then it's easier to have the tip of the asparagus facing you and go this way. With the other peeler. I actually think I have one. Hold on. Ah! So, if you have this one, it's easier to do it like that. Or maybe it's not. They're not my favorite. But if that's all you have, that's cool. You just have to take the green off. There we go. Take all the skin off. Now all these little asparagus peels, I'm gonna keep them for that episode with the stalks, and I'll show you what to do with them later. So with the asparagus like this, nicely sauteed, you can also, if it's too wide, you can cut it down the middle. So they're skinnier, and you've got that nice contrast between the green and the white in the middle. It's pretty. The other things that you can do with them, if you're making a quiche or eggs, is just cut them into pieces, just like that. They'll fit in a pan easier than the long spear. So you can do that, or you can, if you had a quiche in front of you, you can kind of lay them out like that, all around in a circle. But asparagus are one of the lovely vegetables that are super easy and very fast to do. So you could put that in a quiche or some kind of other pie. You can also cut them smaller if you want, into just smaller pieces, depending on if you wanted to throw it in a salad. There's one other nice way to do asparagus that ends up being a bit wasteful, but like I said, we have lots of things to do with the ends of asparagus and all the trim. But it's really nice also if you just peel it, like all the way from the top, and you throw those peels, you can put them in a salad. So you just keep peeling it. I find it easy to kind of hold it from the tip, peel down, but in a square. And you just, so it kind of looks like that, but you just keep going until you can't go anymore. And the tip end you could cut in 3, just throw them in, and this little core floppy bit, you can either cut it by hand, or you could also throw it in with your woody stalks. And then that's just really lovely in a salad. Green salad, maybe with strawberries, maybe with some lovely cheese, nice light dressing. Asparagus is best friends with eggs. Hollandaise is a really classic way to do with asparagus. Spears, asparagus loves pork, it loves meat. Asparagus loves a lot of things. But if you're unfamiliar with asparagus, like I said, I kind of use it like I would a green bean. Kind of has that green flavor, that kind of vegetalness, but also has a nice snap to it, a nice little crunch, and it's very fresh. So I've broken off all the ends. Now I'm just gonna cut them on an angle just so that they have a nicer presentation side. And then like I said earlier, these little bits you can just throw in with your eggs or pasta or what have you. They're lovely and delicious, but and you don't have to cut the ends off if you don't want to. That's totally cool. In the restaurant, we always like to make things lovely and presentable, so try to make things. If you want to do more than one at once, I like to kind of put them almost like cascading, like a staircase. And then these bits, like I said, I just keep them and I'll throw them in my breakfast usually. And we got these. So these are ready to go. Now we've got these stocky ends. So where you've cut, or where you've broken rather, still has some good parts to it. Like I said earlier, the older the asparagus and the later in the season, the more woody the bottom part of the asparagus spear gets. But I really like to cut them just on an angle or straight across, up to you, but just really thinly until my knife starts to feel resistance. because that's where you start getting woody. So these are very, very fresh asparagus, and they're also at the beginning of the season. So there isn't actually too much woodiness yet, but those wood ends, we're going to keep them aside. And I'm gonna infuse them with cream. So I have an asparagus flavored cream that's really lovely in a spring pasta that I'll show you. As well as these little ends, because they're starting to get just a little fibrous, but by cutting them very thinly, we've cut through the fibers and they still have a nice crisp to it. But we don't wanna go so far down that they're really hard to eat. So there's this like fine middle ground where if you cut them really thinly, they're really delicious. And I keep them in cold water in a little container, and I keep them in the fridge. I find it best to change the water every day. They last for a couple days. They don't last very long. And they don't last long in my house because I love them. So I really like to put them in my salad, just as like a little garnish. But yeah, so now I'm starting to feel the woodiness. So I'll just stop there and I'll put that in my pile, put that in my water. And I just do that to all of them. And and in the restaurant, we go through tons. So I've got liters of them, but we throw them in our salads and I just love it. So if you're not sure which end is the bottom end, you can look at the little leaves that are on the asparagus spear. So they're almost like little triangles. So the point is going up towards the spear. And that's how you know that that is the way that it grows, which means that this end with the flat is the bottom. But yeah, so there's a couple ways to do asparagus, and hope you'll tune into our asparagus trim episode on scrap cooking. I'll be able to show you a couple different ways to do with all the excess bits that we had while we were trimming our asparagus. So thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.